Choose you. So many decisions that you have to make. Confusing, overwhelming, scared you'll make a mistake. Second guessing yourself, trying to see what to do. Whatever you decide, be sure to choose you. Life is to be lived, lessons to be learned. Give yourself a little credit. Collect what you've earned. Empower yourself. Take a mental break too. Wherever you go, be sure to choose you. You matter. You're worth it. What I say is true. In the end, you're gonna win, but you got to choose you. Hello, all, and welcome to Choose Your Talk Show. I'm your host, Delphany Polk. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today's topic, we're going to talk about storms. Yes, storms. The reason I wanted to go into this subject matter, I actually heard a song, and the song resonated so deeply within my spirit that it made me wonder if other people felt the same way that I did about, being in storms and not being able to um, deal with things a certain way. Because regardless of what we think or how we feel, we all run into storms on an everyday basis. Whether it's the weather or emotional storm, a spiritual storm, a financial storm, there are storms that we run into every day. Believe it or not, storms are mentioned 119 times in the Bible. Yes, I researched it. I had to because I couldn't come to you with the incorrect information. And I know the show is basically about mental health, but it's about mental health help from a biblical perspective. You get it? So no matter what you're going through, what's going on, I got a verse for that. Yes, yes, yes. I know that that was corny, but it's the truth. Well, anyway, back to the subject matter. Storms. So I went with a friend and he was asked to do a solo and he sang this song and it brought tears to my eyes. And as I sat there, I, just thought about things that I've gone through personally and things that the people around me, my friends and coworkers, and things that everybody were going through. And, just thought about how good God is and how He provides protection and shelter. And no matter what the storm is, He just loves us so, you know. Well, the song is My Soul's Been Anchored in the Lord. And the lyrics are Though the storms keep on raging in my life, and sometimes it's hard to tell the night from day, still that hope that lies within is reassured. As I keep my eyes upon the distant shore, I know He'll lead me safely to that blessed place He has prepared. But if the storms don't cease, and if the winds keep on blowing in my life, my soul has been anchored in the Lord. Now I realize that times in this life, we're going to be tossed by the waves and the currents that seem so fierce. But in the Word of God, I've got an anchor, and it keeps me steadfast and unmovable despite the tide. But if the storms don't cease, and just in case the winds don't, in case the winds keep on blowing in my life, my soul has been anchored in the Lord. Then it goes on down to say, You know how it goes into the break. The billows may roll and the breakers may dash. I shall not sway because he holds me fast. So dark the day, the clouds in the sky. I know it's all right because Jesus is nigh. Do you know Jesus is nigh? No matter what your storm, no matter what you're going through, do you know he has you? That's the part. Now, I'm going to go through a whole layout because I've researched and did some homework and I've prepared a show for you. But before we even get off and into all that, I just want you to know God got you. God got you. God got you. And no matter how it feels sometimes, don't lose hope, don't lose faith, don't lose trust. And it gets hard. It gets hard. Like you said, the day gets dark. But just know Jesus is nigh. He's with you. He has you. He loves you. He chose you. And if God chose you, oh my goodness, I know you could choose you. I know you could choose you. Storms are mentioned 119 times in the Bible. And the Bible teaches us that there are different types of storms. There's a storm like the ones we bring upon ourselves, like Samson. There are storms that God causes, like at the Lake of Galilee. And there are storms that other people cause. Like the one Paul and Silas when they were thrown into prison. When you're an innocent party in any crisis, that last storm, it gets hard to take. It's especially hard to take when you have nothing to do with it. If you're just thrust in the middle of that storm, it's a hard pill to swallow sometimes. In the Bible, there are many times that God provided protection for his people from natural storms. While we still, go about seeking shelter today from physical storms, we have to look to the scripture for encouraging words during the symbolic storms of our lives. Did you know that grief is a storm? And that's a storm that I weathered. So I know how it could seem just overbearing, just like there's no end to it, like the waves are crashing on your mental state. But if you weather the storm, you'll see. I mean, you used to laugh. We've traveled around, so we've been in different type of storms. My family traveled. We lived in Texas, and they had like windstorms with you just we were even in a hailstorm down there with golf ball size pieces of hail falling out the sky. It's in the middle of the summer. We were in the swimming pool, and hail just falling out the sky. And now, the funny part is, we talk about how God gives protection. We didn't realize that God was protecting us. At that time, you couldn't have told us that Walter wasn't protecting us because he came out there in the pool, took off his shirt, and was holding it over our heads, walking us to the hotel room because he didn't want anybody to get hurt with those big pieces of ice falling on us while we're in the swimming pool. So if if you have an inkling of feeling of protection like I felt with my father holding his shirt open to keep us protected, just imagine the protection you have When Jesus went on the cross and stretched his arms wide, there is no beating that protection. No matter what storm you go through, think on that. They held him high, they stretched him wide. He hung his head, then he died. But that's love, though. That's love. The Bible provides wisdom and guidance to get through the storms of our lives and follow the path of God through difficult times. And no matter what difficult time you're going through, just stay focused on God. He'll get you through. God put Apostle as a prisoner on board a ship headed from Palestine to Rome. And after the ship ventured through the Mediterranean Sea and docked at the island of Crete, God told Paul to advise the crew not to leave the harbor because there was going to be a great storm. And Paul did just that. But guess what? They didn't listen. They were impatient. They wanted to get to the other side. And sometimes impatience can get you into trouble. There are many crisis-ridden people who were impatient. Impatient to get married, impatient to get a new job, impatient to move to the other side of town. They didn't take time to check things out with God, and they sailed right off into an awaiting storm. The centurion who had charge of Paul ignored his plea and instead followed the advice given by the captain and the owner of the ship. That's one of the reasons we get ourselves into a mess. Listening to the wrong experts. The only truly reliable expert is God. Listen to God and you'll never go wrong. The majority of the crew decided that the ship should sail on and hoped to reach Phoenix and its safe harbor on the other side. Another reason we get into trouble, we take a vote. The majority can be wrong, and we can get ourselves into a real mess by following the crowd. Don't always follow the crowd. Sometimes you can stand alone and be right by yourself. If you listen to God for direction, He'll give you the answer. It says, when a gentle south wind began to blow, they thought they had obtained what they wanted. So they weighed anchor and sailed along the shore of Crete. The sailors thought they had gotten their wish because the circumstances looked favorable. But it was foolish and unwise to ignore what God says, even if circumstances tend to contradict it. Things may look all right now, but you may be sailing straight into a storm. And that's just what they did. They sailed right into the storm. You've heard people to say, well, this decision might be all right. I might be making the best decision. It feels good. It's all right for me. But if God says wait, you had better wait. There's no question about it. You better wait. Keep in mind, delay is not denial. What was one occasion when you made a decision more typical, like the sailors did, even though Paul had told them what God said? Have you ever just made a decision? You know the outcome is going to be either or. And you know you ain't discussed it with God. Do you still take that feat? Do you still try to do your own thing? Does that work out for you?
Song written? Are you in need of private security? Would you like some personalized poetry? or even a 501c3 created? If so, call Fix It Dell at 901 440 0335. Organization dedicated to the enlightening of girls from ages 7 to 17 and handling issues with anger, aggression, and bullying. Our mission is to infiltrate schools, churches, and communities with the message of anti bullying and create awareness about the lasting effects of aggression and bullying. If you are interested, or you know a girl from ages 7 to 17 that may be interested and benefit from this program, please contact us at www.sanschild.org. Again, that's www.sanschild.org.
Choose you. So many decisions that you have to make. Confusing, overwhelming, scared you'll make a mistake. Second guessing yourself, trying to see what to do. Whatever you decide, be sure to choose you. Life is to be lived, lessons to be learned. Give yourself a little credit. Collect what you've earned. Empower yourself. Take a mental break too. Wherever you go, be sure to choose you. You matter, you're worth it. What I say is true. In the end, you're gonna win, but you got to choose you.
Okay, so did you know that sometimes Jesus leads us into storms? Now remember, this whole episode starts when Jesus encourages his disciples to go across to the other side of the lake. It's Jesus who actually initiates the whole sequence of events. For any Christian who believes that Jesus promises a life free from difficulty, this may be a shock to you. John 16 and 33 tells you that in this world you will have trouble. Sometimes that's due to the evil of others. Sometimes we can't discern the cause. And sometimes Jesus leads us into a storm deliberately. Whatever the origin is, storms can be caused by God to reshape our character increasingly into the likeliness of Christ. Sometimes it takes going through that storm for you to realize, okay, I need to do better. Because once you know better, it's easier to do better, you know. Jesus sometimes seems to be asleep in our storms. While the disciples were getting frantic about the storm, Jesus was asleep in the stern, verse 38. And that's how it feels for us a lot of times, don't it? And when you're going through your storm, you're like, Lord, where are you? Lord, come help me. Lord, please come see about me. Paul Miller, in his book, A Praying Life, comments astutely, when we suffer, we long for God to speak clearly, to tell us the end of the story, and most of all, to show himself. But if he showed himself fully and immediately, if he answered all the questions, we would never grow. How profound. Just think about it. If everything that you needed or wanted was handed to you right away without you having to work for it, you wouldn't have any ethic at all. You have to earn some things in life. So going through your storms and weathering your storms, you then know there's a rainbow in the sky. Disciples are still fearful after the storm, but in a different way. This is the part I love because, you know, if you have never experienced one of the deepest, most traumatic storms that you possibly will go through, a small storm is not the same thing. And okay, if you watch a lot of TV, sometimes I watch like the weird shows. And Storm Chasers is one of the shows that I used to watch on a regular. And so these folks would be chasing the tornado. And this one car, this one group, they chasing the storm. They didn't follow this tornado, got all the way, and did not realize they're just going through houses, blowing through people's cows, going up there, everything going crazy, going wild, just everything going everywhere. And they're thinking nothing of it. They just all just videotaping all gee, not even thinking about, the detriment that they were in. They went so far in that they were in the eye of the storm. So at that moment, everything was still, everything was calm. So they thought they had ridden out the storm. They thought they had passed it. So instead of being cautious, they just sat there like nothing, like this thing is not gonna move, like it's not gonna go on. But because they're in the eye, they don't see don't see the part. They don't feel that part anymore. They don't feel the pain of going through. They don't feel all the wind blowing and all the storm itself. And they inched on past a little more and got to the other side because the eye moves, the storm moves. And so once they were in the eye, they were at a still. But they had to go through the other side to get through it, to get past it. At that point, that's when they realized, oh, we did not do what we're supposed to do. So now that they're easing on through the other side of the storm, they come out of the storm, but now they're nervous because they're not realizing we done rode through the storm. Now, oh my goodness, it might pop up again at any time. What's going on? Well, just like with the disciples and with the men on the boat and with the whole nine, of course, as we know, Jesus does calm the storm dramatically because it didn't take much for him to do it. Yeah, we all know what he did. He just hollers out, "Peace, be still." Yep, that's it. The point of the incident ultimately is to show us Jesus' unique authority over nature. And what do the disciples do? They get out their guitars, they start singing songs. Do they start having a dance? No, that's not what they did. Now keep in mind they was hollering and screaming during the middle of the storm. And now they filled with great fear and said to one another, "Who then is this that even the wind and the sea obey him?" Fear of the storm had been replaced by a different kind of apprehension, an absolute awe of Jesus. Jesus is not a comfortable traveling companion. Wow, say that. He may lead us into storms to shock us and refine us. He may seem to be asleep, but ultimately, Jesus is greater than any storm we face. And what he will achieve in us through those storms is most likely beyond our greatest imagining. So just think about it. There are some storms that you've gone through in your life. And once you pass through those storms, you are now a better person. I mean, I can attest to working at a facility with children who didn't get the love they needed at home. And I'm one of those parents and I give tough love to the fullest. That's just how I am. It wasn't until I ran into some children, not that they weren't getting tough love. These children weren't getting any love. And I, made it my business. Hmm, that could have been my baby. That darling child, that sweet soul, that poor little thing. And all the storms that you go through aren't always for you. They may be for someone else. The things you're going through may be for someone else. The things that you experience may be for someone who has their eyes on you, someone who's watching you. You may be going through the storm to save their lives. But just think of how awesome that is that God would choose you. That God would choose you to be an example, to be a pawn, to be a puzzle piece, to use you to show someone else the way. He'll use you to show somebody else how good He is, how great He is. And it's not always the storms that brings folks to Him. It may be your coming out of the storm. How did you handle the storm? How you were steadfast during the storm. God is a good God, and He loves you, and He cares for you. You know, I went to visit my grandmother's church a couple of years back, and believe it or not, my family is pretty talented, and I heard a song, and I think I was coming back from Hawaii or something, and I just thought, I know my cousin laughs at me still about this to this day. I thought she was singing the song, and I thought that she had written it. And it says, I climbed up to the highest mountain. I looked around up there, couldn't find nobody. Went down into the deepest valley. Looked all around down there, couldn't find nobody. I went across the deep blue sea, couldn't find one to compare to your grace, your love, your mercy. Nobody greater. Nobody greater than you. Searched all over, couldn't find nobody. Looked high and low, still couldn't find nobody. Nobody greater than you. Said, O most holy one you are, the great I am. Awesome in your ways and your mighty hand. You are He who carried out redemption's plan. Searched all over, couldn't find nobody. I looked high and low, still couldn't find nobody. Nobody greater. Nobody greater than you. Just think about it. If God, in all His awesomeness, His greatness, if He chooses you to be a vessel to weather the storms, to be an example, to show someone the way, you got to be mighty kind of special. He has to love you with more love than a heart could hold. Just think about it. Thank you so much for tuning in. Come again next week. I hope to see you soon. If God chose you, be sure that you choose you. Have a great one. Take care. And I love you.